Welcome once again, everybody, to Blockbuster Mentality, the show where we dive deep into the world of cinema. I'm your host, Ben Secord, and today, Dave and I dive deep into Interstellar, the 2014 Christopher Nolan flick, starring Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway. The IMDb synopsis for the film reads, a team of explorers travel through a wormhole in space in an attempt to ensure humanity's survival. Seems simple, but we're going to dive deep into this. We talked about this once on the show before, but in a whole different way, so it'll be interesting to see what we think of it today. So sit back, relax, let's talk some movies.
Christopher Nolan's Interstellar is kind of a contentious film. It's a film that I liked immediately, but it's one that had kind of mixed reviews by the critics. I know, Ben, this actually made your overrated list.
It did.
A number of shows ago. But I don't know, I liked it a lot, and I noticed that one thing I check out in Rotten Tomatoes, this one had, I think I wrote this down, it had a 71% fresh by the critics,
right,
and audience was 85%, which is a pretty strong number. Now, that's a pretty big divergence between critics and audience.
Yeah, no, I'd say so. Yeah, because I was one of those who I wanted to love it so much, and I did love it first. And I'm talking about the first time I saw it. I loved it the first, hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours of the movie, 2 hours 45-minute long movie.
Yeah,
it's long movie. Where it ended up was just kind of, I don't know, it wasn't fulfilling to me. So for me, it just didn't land, and I was just kind of mad at the film the first time.
Yeah.
Because again, it kept me like wrapped in for so long that where it headed, I was just like, no, that's not how I would have done it. But this time around, I appreciated it way more. Obviously, we'll get into what I appreciated more about it. I mean, still had a little issues here and there with it, but again,
well, it's definitely
such a deep movie. It's so much here.
But it's not perfect, and you're under no obligation to change your mind. You know what I mean? Like, if you caught something, because sometimes you watch it once and you see another, like, they affect you at different times, whatever. We know that. And, so just getting into this thing, it's kind of nuts. I don't know. I mean, I brought up that comparison because the divergence between critics and audience. I was thinking of The Last Jedi, where it's actually the
opposite, right.
And I looked at that, and the critics are at like 91, and the audience is below 50 now. It's like 49.
Yeah, it's insane.
Which I don't agree with that at all. But
no, in Rotten Tomatoes, I mean, there's flaws in there, that whole system. But yeah, watching a movie, again, thinking, oh, I got to change my opinion on it because people like it, so I must like it. Like I, never, don't let other people's opinions sway me, but I do let people. I like to hear people out. So you, like, when I had this on my overrated list and you were talking about it kind of sold me on it because it made me want to give it a chance again. So I'm glad you brought this up, and I'm really glad I watched it again because this is great. I mean, obviously it's coming off of Matthew McConaughey's Oscar-winning performance with Dallas Buyers Club. It's his next movie after that. Yeah. Before this movie came out, people were saying, "Oh, this might be the next Oscar for." Matthew McConaughey might get another Oscar nomination. He didn't get an Oscar nomination. What did you think of his overall performance?
I thought he was outstanding and fit. He plays basically sort of two roles in this movie, and I buy every bit of Matthew McConaughey in this movie, and I don't know. I'm not like he's an okay actor. I don't have a problem with him. I think he's amazing. He is who he is, right? He was in a lot of silly stuff, and then he made some really good movies for a bit, and I'm a fan of his, but yeah, it's just a great movie. I can't even imagine anybody else in this role.
Yeah, this decade he's totally turned his career around. It seems like it's, Dallas Buyers Club, True Detective, movies like that. And even this, I totally dug his performance. You said he had like two roles in this. You're talking like father and kind of like an astronaut, pilot. Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of like he's basically a farmer, right? And in that setting, where I don't know, where do they ever say where they are? I don't know.
They might, but Idaho, I don't know.
I buy him as that guy who has lost his wife and is raising kids and living in that world, and then a guy that goes to another galaxy. I bought that too, as an astronaut or almost not action hero, but just as a guy that you can buy doing these things. So he fit both. So that's just kind of what I mean by two roles.
Definitely. this was Christopher Nolan's. I believe it was his next film after Dark Knight Rises, which was one of his films that was on your overrated list, right?
I thought that one was overrated. Yeah,
definitely. Now, Christopher Nolan, I'm a huge fan of his. I know I told you earlier that I don't think he's put a bad performance, or not a performance, but he really doesn't have a bad movie, which is remarkable in this day and age. I mean, go back to, obviously Memento and even Insomnia wasn't bad. It wasn't, anything that great, but it wasn't bad. And just his career is just amazing. And this, to go to this like sci-fi level was just remarkable. I love what he does with IMAX. It seems like he's one of the directors that kind of was really trying to innovate IMAX, and he was able to, and he kind of almost made it like the standard, it seems like, with his movies. So
he like broke through, advancing the technology and using this great thing of IMAX, like they say, like impossible to actually carry around one of these things. I saw a little featurette on the Blu-ray I have that showed how big it's just film. It's these massive reels of film, and you got to bring them on location and all that, and managing all that. And but it's worth it, the quality. When that letterbox opens up and you see the portion that's filmed in IMAX, I mean, it's great.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's so worth it. But so he's after the Dark Knight. He's at a not to say that's his peak, but he's at a pretty high point there.
Right, coming off a big successful trilogy
that was massive, and like his credibility couldn't be higher, right? So then he goes and makes and like we said, it's a long movie. There are problems with it. It's confusing. This is one where I think you just have to you got to just put your hands in it and just take out what is left, and then whatever's left behind it's done. Like you can't analyze this thing letter by letter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like looking at almost like a painting in a sense. You get a feeling from the movie rather than like it being something that you codify and write down.
Right.
You know what I mean?
As much as you want to, too. Because like there were so many points in this movie, like my brain started to hurt. It was just like, man, what?
Yeah. It's
like when I think I got my head wrapped around it, then they throw something else at you, and I'm just like, oh, I have no idea what's going on. Not that I know what's going on, but
it's a very abstract film. It's more about thoughts, ideas, emotions, experiences.
Right.
That's what the film is. It's not like this tightly wrapped story,
right?
Like
makes you like ask these like unthinkable questions,
right?
Which is I think amazing in art, that you can do that to an audience, make you ask these questions, and make you. I know when I first saw this, I did like so much research on like time travel and paradoxes and things like that. Like it gets you thinking and gets your mind going. It's like almost like a good like brain exercise to watch this movie. Like
it's true. It makes you think about things I normally never think about.
Right.
I think I've seen this movie maybe 4 or 5 times.
Oh wow.
So but each time I have that same experience.
Yeah.
It digs into my brain, and I just think about it for a day or two. Yeah. I'm looking at YouTube videos on time dilation and all this other stuff, which I mean I get it, but it's a good refresher, and like it's almost mind-boggling, And
it really is.
That's the thing I wanted to say too, is that this movie is, after that point from The Dark Knight, he chooses this really ambitious project.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a story about like humans. Human beings pushing the limits, and I think he's doing that as a filmmaker in this movie. And where he fails, that's fine, because he was going for the stars in this movie, I think.
Yeah, no, that's a great call. Yeah, that's a really good point, because I mean, he was, like you said, very ambitious to ask this of your audience and to keep people engaged in it, because they were throwing stuff at me, but like the first, I'd say, like hour and a half of this movie, like it goes by so fast. I remember when I looked at the timestamp, it said 2 hours, or the time or run time of the movie, it said 2 hours 45 minutes.
Yeah,
I was like, ugh. It was like 8 o'clock at night. I was like, all right, let me get this started.
It's long,
and
man.
I turned it on, and before I know it, it's an hour and a half in, and like it felt like no time went by. So I mean, that's a this movie did not feel like 2 hours and 45 minutes, because
but parts did slow down. But
parts did slow down, but it did not feel like that. Like Blade Runner 2049, which I love. you feel every bit of that 2 hours 45 minutes.
Definitely.
But this, again, I have to give credit to Nolan here to keep the audience engaged the whole time.
Yeah.
Besides the little parts that dragged, which we'll talk about a little later. So yeah,
and I pretty much cared about every single character that came on screen in some way, even the ones I didn't like or they ultimately did not so good things. I still cared about them. I never felt there was really a side character in this movie.
Yeah, and there wasn't even obviously the revelation with Michael Caine and things,
right.
There wasn't anyone that was kind of like in the shadows, like, oh, that guy's shady, like what's he up to? Like they were all people who were trying to do good things, just trying to save the human race, trying to get them to this other planet. Real quick, we should just talk about the other cast real quick. Hathaway, what do you think of Anne Hathaway?
She's great in this movie.
Yeah,
really, really good.
Yeah, I mean,
I think she's fantastic in this movie.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Michael Caine, for me, you can never go wrong with Michael Caine.
You just throw him, just go be Michael Caine.
Yeah,
these lines.
Yeah, he's not gonna have a bad performance. I mean, it's usually the same. Even when he was in the hospital bed at the end, like that was good acting right there for me. Just the pain he was conveying, and you felt his pain. Like he really felt sorry.
I really didn't think he was a great Alfred, but he's really good in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, he's okay as Alfred, but I think he really showed something in this movie.
Right. So it's interesting that Christopher Nolan, I like when directors, use the same actors.
Frank Vincent.
Frank Vincent. Yep, he's the Frank Vincent for
really
Christopher Nolan. Very good call. Jessica Chastain.
I don't know.
Yeah, you said you don't know what you think of her. Yeah, I mean, she's
just okay.
She hasn't had a performance for me that's blown me away. Actually, my favorite performance of hers, I think, is in The Help. I really liked her character in The Help. She's like one of the more likable white characters in that movie.
Right. Because I get it.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, I mean that's pretty much your cast. Anyone else you wanted to mention?
Yeah, Jessica Chastain plays Murph. And it's played by two different actors. And I think the child actress...
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know her name. I've wrote it down, but I can't find it. But I think she did an amazing job.
Yeah, that's a good call. Mackenzie Foy is her name.
Okay, yeah.
Timothy Chalamet, he was in Lady Bird. He played the young Tom.
Oh, okay,
he was like her pretentious boyfriend in Lady Bird, and he looks just like Casey Affleck, 15-year-old Casey Affleck.
I know Casey Affleck's in this.
I know.
There's got a little role where he does pretty good too. Oh, I wanted to mention the scientist one of the astronauts that go Romilly. I don't know the guy's name. The
actor or the character's name is Romilly.
Yeah.
Let's see. Wes Bentley was in it. I know he's Doyle. He was,
American
from
Beauty.
American
That's
Beauty.
The only thing I know him from.
Hunger Games. Did you see any of those?
I did, but like.
No, I know. I'm not.
I don't recognize him from that.
Yeah, the guy who played Romilly, David Gyasi.
Yeah, I don't know him from anything else other than this movie, but I felt really bad for this character. This character got like the short end of the stick.
Right.
But the performance I thought by him was really a good standout. That's another one. Like they have a crew of 4 of them.
Yeah.
And I like every one of them. He didn't feel like a side character at all.
No, definitely not.
One really important big thing happens to him.
And you have so many people. Again, Ellen Burstyn plays so you have actually 3 actors that play Murph. Ellen Burstyn, David Oyelowo, he plays the school principal.
Yeah.
I totally mispronounced his name, I know.
Yeah.
But he's in a lot. And then even John Lithgow. John Lithgow is McConaughey's father-in-law. Yeah, it's crazy how many people are in this. But
yeah, the cast is just outstanding.
Definitely. You want to jump into this thing?
Let's do it.
Whew, I don't know, man. I'm still recovering from watching it. It's definitely a project. It's so much here. But we're gonna jump into our pick 6, where we give our 6 favorite moments of the film, and just go through them and talk about them. And again,
rough chronological order. Yeah.
I'm gonna say now, follow us on Twitter at
Please
BlockbusterCast, and be sure to subscribe and like this video on YouTube. And babadee-badoo.
Hey-o.
All right. So what's our first moment in our pick 6?
Our first pick 6 is the Cooper, who is Matthew McConaughey, goes to a parent-teacher conference for his 2 kids. And this just tells us everything about this world we're in. So we learn that it's Earth, but somewhere in the future, not too far. It doesn't feel like, right?
Right. Yeah, they never really say what year it is, do they?
No, it feels like it's a little bit in the future. But anyway, there's some sort of a thing. They called it blight, which ruined. It killed all the wheat crops, and it's slowly just killing all capability of growing agriculture. It's like this dust that's flying around. The planet's basically dying, or at least humans don't have too long because they just can't grow food anymore. So,
the only thing they can eat really is corn at this point.
And there's probably not a good prospect of that lasting very long either. So, yeah, and they said at one point it was like okra or something. Like, this is the last season for okra, and like John Lithgow's like, ever.
Yeah.
It's done.
It's insane. Yeah, it seems like they're, got a happy farm life going, but it's got this ominous feeling to it as well.
Well, how about that little detour over that drone that they find?
Yeah, what was that all about? Where'd that drone come from?
It was some, like a NASA drone, or it was some other thing that was programmed to do something else, but then I guess whenever the power sources just cut out, the thing just had some kind of a guidance system.
Right.
And ran on, I think it had solar panels.
Yeah.
I forget what it did.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a cool little
military drone, maybe. Probably more likely.
Yeah, and I love the score. The score in this whole movie, but in that part especially, the Hans Zimmer score was great. Kept you engaged in that moment. But yeah, the teacher conference brings a lot of exposition. Yeah. Basically telling you how, people really don't believe that America went to the moon or anything like that. That was just a way to bankrupt Russia, things like that.
Yeah, so he's got two kids, and one boy, they must take some sort of test at a certain age, and he didn't score very high on it, so they tell him he's going to be a farmer.
Right.
He's not, and then Cooper's just arguing him, what about college? Where's my tax money go? This sort of thing. But they sort of see, like, this society, they're like, there aren't a lot of resources to spare, so they're just placing people for what they can afford to do. But so he's just gonna be a farmer. He's gonna finish high school, and he's gonna maybe get some training in it, and that's it. As for Murph, she tests very well, but she doesn't go to school, or she's not doing well, or is her grades low? I forget what the issue was.
I think she's.
Oh, she had that textbook. Is that what it was?
Oh yeah. So
that the textbook that said about how man landing on the moon. We realized, as you said, that they no longer believe that we went to the moon.
Right.
I mean, this is a place that's basically lost its identity. It's lost its sense of itself. It's lost its culture. It's just forgotten who they are. Yeah. And that's terrifying.
Yeah. I mean, it really is because, she even says something about, let's not have, the mistakes of the 20th century, come into the 21st century because, we want to save the planet. Right. Not worry about what's out there, what's outside of this planet, because we're trying to save this one, right? Which we'll find out later that there's no hope for this one, right? But a lot of good points are brought out in this, and just again, like I said, a lot of exposition and Matthew McConaughey, Cooper, obviously how he feels and talks about his background.
But it like tickles that part inside of me where it makes me a little angry. Yeah, and like. What the heck? And it's said in such a way where you could see this being plausible, right? Yeah, down the line where, look where we are. Like, we can't even feed ourselves. These people didn't go to the moon. Mm-hmm. There's no way they did that. Look where we are. We can barely survive. That just makes no sense.
Yeah, we can't grow the right crops, and they're talking about going to the moon. Give me a break.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's how far they had fallen.
Right.
Where that just seemed like that's just like a fairy tale.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's very interesting. Gives you an idea of where this world is at, and great call there on the number one.
I don't know about you, but I'd like to go back to the moon. Yeah, and see it like in HD and just have like some rover go around. I would sit and watch that thing for like 24 hours.
That'd be cool if you could just remote control it yourself, like give people the ability to pay to do that or something.
That'd be amazing.
That'd be great. Let's
please do not steal that idea.
Yes, NASA.
It's copyrighted here.
We'll be calling you, NASA.
I got the plans in my truck.
Oh, do you do?
We'll go over later.
We are in Hawaii right now. If anyone's asking, if anyone's trying to look for us. All right.
I think I mean that sets the stage for this movie too, because you start getting the emotional
right.
And this is Nolan's probably his most emotional film, maybe by far. I think if there's a knock on Christopher Nolan is that he plays things a bit dry.
Yeah, I mean, Prestige is, it's got that emotion in it. It's got that. I'd say Prestige.
Yeah.
You could make a call for that. But
That's
yeah,
close.
I mean this I'd say is definitely more emotional than that and gets you thinking more than that, because that's just more of a fantasy.
Yeah.
Where this is almost seems like it's not totally science fiction. Like this could actually happen. Like it makes everything seem plausible, which is just remarkable filmmaking.
And once Cooper has this scene too, just before we move on, is once Matthew McConaughey he just nails this scene, you're in on this character. Like you're completely behind him, and that was a good way to begin to intro that character to you, as a guy who's just not going to take any BS, who's going to stick up for his kids, and like, I don't care what your rules are, like I know what's right on my own, and that's kind of who he was.
Yeah, and I even love his little lines, like he's sitting there drinking his beer on the porch and he tells his father-in-law, John Lithgow, we used to wonder about our place in the stars, now we're worried about our place in the dirt.
Yeah.
Good line there. I mean, that's true, because you look up and wonder, and now all they're worried about is again their place in this wasteland that is Earth at this point. Basically, got all these dust storms and it's some scary stuff. And another thing, in between all this, you got these like older people, almost like a documentary style, like talking about, back then, everyone was farmers or, stuff like that. I was like, that was an interesting touch. I was like, huh. And they bring that back. Obviously, at the end of the movie, you realize what that's all about. But yeah, I mean, it made it feel even more real.
That's true. Yeah, that's a great call. I didn't, because in the beginning, you don't know what this is.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's another great touch there by Christopher Nolan to make this seem just more like, again, third time I think we've used this word, plausible. Make this seem even more real, because it's like, oh wow, because like subconsciously you're probably like, okay, so this is like a true story, and
it starts painting that picture in your
people
mind.
from this story actually telling their stories. It's like, oh wow, like, so it's great touch. Good job, Chris Nolan.
And
Great job.
Yeah, it's almost like, and it's the same thing with Dunkirk that he does in this movie, is he really puts you inside the camera.
Yes.
You feel so much in this movie, right? It's like you forget you're watching a movie in a way, You're like in this world. I don't know what he does, but he just sets you there.
Absolutely. So let's get to our number 2, which is what the countdown / the goodbye. So
they figure out there's this gravitational anomaly that's manifesting itself in Murph's bedroom.
Right.
And
it's making lines in the dirt, and books are falling off the shelf.
Yeah, they don't know what's going on. So the books are falling off the shelf, and then they figure out that it's some kind of binary code that's going on.
And it's coordinates.
Yeah, and then it's coordinates, so they drive, and it's to some facility, which we discover is NASA, working basically underground secretly to hatch this plan. Michael
Caine, Anne Hathaway are there.
Yeah, we meet basically the rest of the cast.
Yeah.
Or almost the rest of the cast. But
definitely.
So the scenario is Earth is going to die within, what did Michael Caine say, within Murph's lifetime?
Yeah, she would be the last generation or something.
Yeah.
In Murph's lifetime, yep.
So all the plants are dying, and then Michael Caine said the one that was corn, and then he's like, it's already dying. There's like somebody, they're in like a lab testing stuff. And then he shows them the rocket and their whole plan. And do you want to explain what the plan is?
The plan is basically to get people, plan A, there's a plan A and there's a plan B.
Right.
Plan A is to get people in this facility, which is basically a huge shuttle that can, house
like a space station,
people. It's a space station. They want to shoot people off into space and try to find another planet to live. Plan B is to send astronauts with human embryos, up to form new colonies up there in case their plan A can't work, where they can't, ship actual people up to Earth.
Right.
And the reason they're doing this is because they found something near Saturn, this wormhole. Someone put this wormhole there, and something that is a theme throughout the movie, not even a theme, but just something Cooper keeps saying is, who's they?
Right.
Because they keep saying, they put this there for us to find it, because apparently, wormholes are something that can't happen naturally. They're something that, someone...
It just appeared there.
That just appeared
and
there.
It's and that placing that worm. By the way, that was a far better job than I could have explained it. So you did a great job.
I blacked out. What happened? What just happened there?
Yeah, exactly. By placing the wormhole there, it created some gravitational anomalies, which was what was going on. The same thing. The reason why that thing happened in their bedroom was that wormhole being placed there. And it also, as we learned, that Cooper was also a pilot. And he was an astronaut, and then he crashed, or so they didn't really show it, but he has got nightmares from it. And then he finds out the reason why his ship went down, which we sort of saw in the beginning, was that same gravitational anomaly.
Oh, actually, I totally missed that.
They explained it when they were sitting around the table. He's like, that's why. He's like, my fly-by-wire went. He's like, yeah, it was that same thing.
Okay.
So
wow,
it's
yeah,
been,
I totally missed that.
Messing with Earth for a bit. And
interesting.
Yeah. So the plan.
So they had already sent astronauts up there, and I believe they're receiving signal from there.
Yeah.
Or did they not mention that yet? I don't know. But anyways, I'm sorry I interrupted you. I am so sorry about this.
I don't know if they had to get close to. Well, yeah. So they sent 12 out through the wormhole that branched out into some other place where nobody knew what it was. And I don't know if they were getting. I don't know if you had to go through to. There's some way to transmit through the wormhole, but I don't know if you have to be facing it as you're going around or whatever you said.
I'm no scientist.
I don't remember. But they had to go. Their mission was to go through that, and then I think they could get the communications, and then choose which planet to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, then basically, he's like, oh, well, you're here, great. We need a pilot, and like, Cooper's that pilot. This kind of where it's like it kind of just happens too conveniently for me, but. At the same time, maybe the ending kind of explains that. Maybe
I actually like this. Okay, so here we are. It's the countdown. We go from him getting introduced to it to him just going right home, saying goodbye to his daughter.
Yeah, which she's mad about.
He's mad about, and his son, and he's leaving. And as he's leaving, as he doesn't really want to leave, and he has this pain look in his face. As soon as he pulls away, there's a T-minus 10 countdown going on. And then he just takes off in the rocket. Yeah. And I actually love this.
Yeah, I like that too. Like I did like they didn't spend time briefing him other than that, scene where he first meets them. Yeah. It's just that would have just wasted time. Right, exactly.
Once he gets the information, there's no more build up. We've got another story to tell, right? And I actually love that there's no walking through in slow motion in your suit and then getting in the cockpit and getting strapped in. It's like no, because that's not what it is. Right. He doesn't want to leave his family. That's the most important part.
Yeah, exactly.
And then in the background, you get the countdown. I thought that's just an amazing
That's not what the story is about. Is just someone getting prepped to There's more important aspects of the story to tell than all that. So I appreciated that.
Yeah.
And then the goodbye part, he's saying goodbye to his daughter and telling her about the watch, look at your watch, and saying how, when I come back, we might be the same age, which when you first see it, you don't really know what he's talking about. It's like, what, why would you be the same age? Like, what? Yeah. I don't really understand that.
Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, we obviously find out later, but,
she's got a notebook. She's also documenting this gravitational anomaly that's going on. So she's now looking at it and taking notes, and then she's like, the books are falling off the bookcase in some sort of a pattern. It says stay.
Yep. But
which is it's you find out later what that really means, but even in the moment you're like, maybe he should listen to me, because that thing is sort of guiding you now. So if it's sending you a message to stay, then maybe you should stay, even though I know you need to leave. Yeah. So I just had that little bit of doubt in my mind.
No, it's true. Even the second time watching, I was like, "What? Listen to her, stay." But at the same time, you realize, he kind of has to go.
You can't. Well, it's also, I don't know. Well, that's sort of that's a question for the ages, probably.
Yeah.
What's his choice here? And I don't really know if that's answerable.
Yeah.
Or not.
I know. Well, it's. Yeah, we'll get into that later, obviously. But that goodbye is so emotional too. Just the great acting by McConaughey there, even to the girl. McConaughey even driving away with tears in his eyes with the countdown and everything. The score just beautifully shot. Loved that whole sequence.
Amazing moment. Amazing, 5 minutes or however long, something like that. It's just brilliant film.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean that's our number 2, and then our number 3 is
Into the Wormhole.
Into the Wormhole. Yep.
Here they are.
So yeah, they're in space. They are in the space station that goes spins really fast, so that that way they'll have gravity on their craft.
Right.
Go
They're
ahead.
in like a smaller thing, and then they
Right.
dock with the thing that spins. But
Right.
I love these little touches though. They're getting used to the spinning. The guy gets sick. What's his name? Romilly.
Yep.
He gets sick, and I like just before they go in, there's a scene with him where Matthew McConaughey's walking around with earbuds, and you don't know what he's listening to, and then he goes and sits down next to Romilly. Romilly's freaking out because he knows there's only a few inches between him and the empty void of space.
Right.
He's just kind of like screwing with his mind. And
Yeah.
so Cooper gives him his earbuds, and it's like rain and crickets
Yeah.
and like thunder,
And it's like even for the audience, it's soothing because you're kind of stressed out as an audience at this point because you're just kind of like, well, yeah,
I know, yeah.
So yeah, I kind of was soothed by that sound too. I was
Christopher
like,
Nolan like calms everybody
all
down.
right. Everything's gonna be okay. Because even when he said there's only millimeters outside the
it's
vacuum of
millimeters,
space,
yeah.
I was just like, ugh, like I feel weird all
I
of
don't
a
know
sudden.
if you have a fear of flying at all. I do a little bit. I do.
Okay.
And that's actually kind of the same thought I get
Really?
because I'm like, I mean, void of space is worse, but
Well-
50,000 feet isn't great either.
Right? No,
So-
not so much. Not so much. Yeah, I mean, I love that little touch. Even like bangs on the side of the wall. But
And then they go and they see the wormhole. They both walk up, and then he explains it to him with a piece of paper, which I'm sure you've probably seen before or whatever. but, like,
this movie is actually the first time I've seen this explained.
so the idea is you've got like if two X's on either end, and the shortest distance between 2 points you'd think of as normally being a straight line. But if you could find a way to bend the piece of paper, you can get from one to the next
Instantly. Very good explanation.
Or so they say.
And they say like spend like space time. Like there's so many unfathomable aspects to this film that I'm just like, it's like almost mind blowing. It's just like, oh,
This movie is like pushing your comprehension of
Right.
like how the universe works,
Right.
and what humans can do with that. You know?
yeah. Because I mean, the idea of a wormhole is that because it would take way too long to get from point A to point B.
Right.
I mean, it would just be
There's no way.
impossible. So I mean, yeah, it's,
Not
it's
in any
something
lifetime.
that bends time, or you can get there instantaneously.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, it's such a cool moment.
Yeah,
with
I
the
love
wormhole. Yep.
I love the approach. I love when they're going by Saturn and they're in like a shadow, and all you see is this little gray thing on the screen. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
that's the ship.
That's the ship. Oh, look at that. I see that there.
But just to show you like the scale of everything.
Yeah, I like how they explain why it's a sphere and not just this like two-dimensional object, which is a cool touch. But and I like how they don't just go straight into it; they almost like turn into it. Like they're kind of orbiting it, and
Yeah.
just kind of turn into it.
And I love those effects too. There's like a spinning, and everything is. It's like almost like in like a lens. It's like
Yeah, it's like a
bending.
drop of water or something. Yeah.
It's so cool. And
Yeah.
this movie, I think we were talking about the budget. It was, I think, what I say, like 160 million.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Something in that range. And like you were saying, that's really not that much. This movie feels like a big budget, or looks like a big budget movie without being a big budget
Yeah,
movie.
I mean it's it's not like a Star Wars movie or a Marvel movie, but
Yeah.
I mean it's still a decent sized budget. But yeah, I mean you would think it would be more just the effects alone in this movie. But yeah, such a cool sequence, and I like how you have Anne Hathaway sticking out her hand because she sees that, and she's like, I got the first handshake,
And then she giggles
Yeah.
like a schoolgirl.
Yeah.
And that's another like tension breaker that he uses. I like laugh with her.
Right,
Like
yeah.
first handshake, hey, it's kind of what she does. But it's like it's funny. I can imagine. I saw this in the theater. I don't remember what the reaction is, but I can imagine the audience laughing along. And that's,
kind of chuckling along with her. Like
It's like, okay, we made
Right.
it through.
And again, this is maybe 35-40 minutes in, and like it didn't feel like that at all.
No.
No. It's just, again, you're intrigued this whole time. You're just along for the ride, similar to Dunkirk. So yeah, through the wormholes, great sequence, and then they get to their first planet, which basically kind of leads to our number 4, which is choices.
They're through the wormhole.
Yep.
They've got 3 ideas. There's a Dr. Miller who's on one planet, which is really close to this black hole called Gargantuan.
Gargantuan.
This massive thing. There's a Dr. Mann who is sending data that is positive. We learned from about Dr. Mann that he is like the most respected scientist that went on this project and probably inspired others to join him on it.
Right.
So that's one there. He's got credibility. If he's sending good data, then you're like, we should maybe go here. And then there's another planet. I forgot the guy, the other doctor's name.
Brand?
No, the one
Edmund.
Edmund.
Yeah, I think so.
He's on a planet, and he's also sending good data. But there's also a question of these planets are all in different spaces, so they have to calculate which one is best, but also in the time to get there and back.
Yeah, and plus the time on that planet because of the time. Is it dilation?
Time dilation.
Oh, God.
Dr. Miller's planet is, I think, closer to Gargantua.
Right.
And
Gargantuan has this huge gravitational pull.
Right. So when you go to that planet, science tells us that its proximity to the black hole means that time relative to you out back in space occurs much, much slower than it will for you.
Right.
So it is the equivalent of being out in space 7 years to being at that planet for only 1 year. Right? So
1 hour on that planet
1 hour,
is 7 years.
1 hour is 7 years.
Yeah,
that's
so
right.
they finally they decide to actually go to that planet, which is a huge water planet. But before they go, Romilly says he'll stay.
Right.
You know, he'll be the one to stay, and he says, you know, all right, well, it'll be 2 years, so I'll just research gravity. So, I mean, he's already prepared that he's going to be up here for 2 years.
Daunting.
Which will be less than an hour in their time.
Because they're playing, that's right, for an hour. And they're like, we're just going to zoom down and zoom right back. Mm-hmm. And then we'll make a decision. And they zoom down, and they can't zoom back.
No, there's no zooming back.
We should just talk about that a bit, though, right?
Yeah.
Because they get down what seems like this weird...
It's just full of water.
It's shallow.
Yeah, it's shallow. Yeah, which is
walking
an
around.
Interesting touch. Yeah, they're walking around in it, and you know, Anne Hathaway says, you know, there's mountains up that way because she's trying to get the data that Miller left, but because they didn't realize he or she crash landed.
Right, I think it was a woman. Right?
Yeah, a woman. She crashed.
Dr. Miller.
Yeah, crash landed. And, you know, Anne Hathaway's trying to get this data, so she's trying to go through the wreckage, trying to get it. And, you know, she sees mountains in the background, and then McConaughey realizes, no, those are waves. Mountain-sized waves.
Just massive. Yep. And you feel the scale, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's the sound, the effect, all of it together, and it looks like hundreds of feet tall. They got to get out. They can't get out. And they're just getting tossed around like a rag doll in these massive waves.
And that's when we get the demise of Wes Bentley.
Yeah.
Or Doyle is his character's name. Get the demise of him.
He's a good character. Well done.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then, you know, the ship gets capsized or whatever real quick, so it's all flooded, so they can't take off right away, and it's just time.
And Cooper is yelling at Brandt.
Yeah, because
he was calling her back, and she's like, "No, I'm going to get the data, or and all that stuff." Mm-hmm. And he's like, "No, we got to go," and she was delaying, so her delay basically cost them. Yeah. But we find out by the time before the next wave can come up, they can fire off and leave, and then they get back to the station, and Romilly. Poor Romilly.
Poor Romilly.
I've been waiting here for 23 years.
Oh. 23 years. So yeah, they were down there, so that means they were down there 3 hours?
Basically, yeah.
A little over 3 hours. 23 years for a little over 3 hours their time. Man, can you
the poor guy's lost his mind practically.
Yeah. He's gray. It's tough. It's tough
sad, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard to even fathom. You feel for that guy, you know?
He's like, cause before, like you said, when he's like, I'm in a plant, I can do 2 years. I'll study the black hole. I'll gather all information. And then when they talk to him, he's like, I did this. He's like a babbling.
Yeah.
For that moment, he's like babbling.
Even Anne Hathaway's like, why didn't you sleep? And he's like, I did. I did for a little while. Yeah. Or did he say that, right? Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, he said I did for a little while, but it's like I needed to wait to see if you were coming.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's can't even imagine, man. That's tough stuff.
So and then
great touch though.
That's a fail. And what they found out was Dr. Miller. What they found. You have to think back to the time dilation. What happened was she was only there for a couple of minutes like them, send out some promising information, and then got killed by the wave.
Right.
And they said that only occurred to her minutes ago.
Yeah, she died like minutes ago, and
that's why, like, why wasn't her body decomposed?
Right.
To her, she just got there and died.
Mm-hmm.
While in that time period, they sent that mission from Earth.
Right.
And to get there, and that to her, that same perspective of time. That's insane.
I know. That's very insane. And actually, while we're on this, what do you think of the robots, TARS case?
Oh, I liked that a lot. I thought it was so unique, and I'd never seen that depiction of a robot, android, whatever.
Definitely, because especially with like the way they move at first, there's like these like 3 pillars, and I'm just like, what can they do? But then when they show them moving in the water and stuff, I was like, oh, all right, they're useful.
Yeah, and I like the personality too,
right?
Where they did that, the humor setting, and all. I thought that was just giving you a little bit of like levity and like you know, not human because it's an android, but just like that sort of light dialogue. Yeah,
it gave you lighthearted moments in the movie. That's for sure.
Yeah, I like TARS a lot. I like that design. Yeah. It was very unique.
And then, kind of, in the same long lines of choices is Brant's lie. So they get back after 23 years. McConaughey's got 23 years worth of messages from his son/daughter. He gets one last, shot from his Jessica. This scene here,
really rough.
Yeah, rough to watch. McConaughey right here. I mean, this scene, I think he should at least got nominated for this again, because that just to convey that emotion just by watching something on a screen.
Yeah, he's incredible.
He's not saying anything, but you feel what he's feeling.
Yeah.
Like that, just he's watching his kids grow up before his eyes, and he was just down at this planet for 3 hours, and now he comes back, his kids are grown up.
Yeah, you get this long bit by Casey Affleck, which was nice.
Yeah,
like, he was a teenager, I've met this girl, then he's a little bit older, he's like showing the kids, and then he's like, I gotta let you go.
Yeah,
because think about his perspective. The reality, not reality, but chances are your dad's dead.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't make it, and doing this is not healthy for you to talk to someone, having that faith that he's still out there.
Right.
But he is, and that's so sad for Matthew McConaughey, right?
I know,
it's like
man.
it's why when he's like bursting out crying, you're feeling that, so you feel both.
Definitely.
Like I get it. I see it, and it sucks. And it's like so powerful.
And then, we get one last message from Murph, just a quick little message from her just to show her that she's grown up as well. She's finally sent him a message. I like how the end of her message, though, then just flashes to her in the science lab.
Yeah.
I like that touch. So it's like, okay, this is real time. She kind of just sent that video. You see that she's working with Brant now, Michael Caine.
They did a lot of this back and forth time.
Yeah, they started
across the galaxy.
I know. Across the galaxy. So you discover she's working for Brand, and eventually, time goes on in the movie. A lot of things happen, but eventually you find out that Brand lied. He knew that Plan A would never work.
Yeah.
He's on his deathbed. He's calling, Jessica Chastain there. He's crying. Great scene. Great acting here by Michael Caine. He lied that Plan A. He knew it would never work. There's no way they'd ever get the equation without being in a black hole. No one's ever been in a black hole before.
He's basically been pretending to solve this problem that he knew he couldn't
He knew Plan B was the only choice.
Which is colonization, which dooms Earth to death.
Right. Yep.
And that just doesn't sit right.
Yeah. It doesn't sit right with them. Doesn't sit right with McConaughey. It doesn't sit right with her, because why did my dad even go?
Yeah.
If I'm going to die, like, I'm sure her dad would have wanted to just die with her, spend his last moments with his kids rather than...
He promised her he was going to come back.
Yeah, exactly.
And we find out Anne Hathaway's character, Dr. Brant, not Junior, but she didn't know either.
Yeah,
he kept it from her.
Right.
So...
Yep.
And this is while they're at Dr. Mann's planet.
Yeah, so they get there. I do like when we first are introduced, it's like Matt Damon. Like, I like how they kept that under wraps, because when it's Matt Damon, you're like, oh my God, that's Matt Damon. Like, I had no idea he was in this movie.
Yeah.
But then, I don't know, just this whole stuff with Matt Damon, this is where the movie starts to drag a little for me.
It does a little bit, but you get, he's such a douche.
Yeah, he really is.
He's like horrible.
Right. And I don't really get it either. I don't really get why he's this, like, why doesn't he just go with them and not worry about it?
Well, because they know they're going to they're gonna find. Well, that's why he set up the other, not TARS, but whatever it's called. He set it to self-destruct because he falsified all his data. He was just using them as an escape
and he
way.
didn't want anyone to find out about that.
Yeah, he's basically This guy's plan was to show back up at Earth with some story that they did something to him or they died on some other thing, and his planet. He was like a total asshole the whole time. He was just he was willing to sacrifice planet Earth so he could live.
Yeah,
and he is the so-called inspirer for everybody else. So it does go a little weird, but I still kind of appreciate it. But I could see why. It's not, it is a bit of a detour, but it's also there's like that human element. I think they said, "What do you?" At one point, I don't know what they said. There's no evil out there. It's what you bring with you,
right?
And that's it. It's that human element of someone going bad. So I appreciated that a little bit.
Yeah, I guess I could see that. Yeah, I guess I don't know. It kind of just slowed down for me.
It did.
And then even when he pushes Matthew McConaughey down and he tries to escape, he's trying to dock and stuff. Him trying to dock takes forever, and then once he explodes, Matthew McConaughey trying to dock, like it's like why is that taking so long? Like when they're trying to dock on the spinning station, so it's like for me, like it's just like. Come on, let's speed this up.
I liked it from an effects point of view.
Oh yeah, I mean that it was incredible, but I don't know, so these are the moments that dragged for me.
And that I think everything you just described probably took about 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean,
and you could have
to be fair, down. Right? Yeah,
no, or maybe even a half hour because they were kind of not. So I could see condensing that, and then if you make this film like 2 hours 30 minutes. And you cut some of that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But I can't, like I said.
Even with those parts, it still didn't feel like a 2 hour and 45-minute movie.
Yeah.
Anyways, the choices, Brand Sly, 23 years.
Yeah, so they had to figure out what plans to go. They went to one, it failed. Went to another, it failed. And then number 3, now they can't do number 3. So number 5, right?
Number 5.
Into Gargantuan.
Yep.
So they, after the Matt Damon nonsense, they have they have their speeder, not their speeder, whatever it's called, the Ranger, and it's attacked to that circular station thing that it's partially busted because of the bad docking. So they're like, okay, we got to go home, but we're going to send Anne Hathaway home, but we need to be able to because Dr. Brandt, his lie was he knew he couldn't solve the equation without being able to observe what's going on inside this black hole, Gargantuan. So they're going to send in TARS, the robot. He's going to go in there and then relay back to them whatever data he can, and hopefully send that to Earth so that they can solve the equation. And they're ready to go. TARS goes. It's kind of a nice scene because we kind of ended up liking this robot, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And then just before, as TARS goes in and as the ship's about to take off and get out of the black hole to not get sucked in by it or whatever and head back to Earth, Matthew McConaughey Cooper detaches his Ranger and goes off. And no, he's leaving Anne Hathaway behind.
It seems like it's going to be like this sacrificial thing.
Yeah. He's going to sacrifice. That's kind of where this movie makes you.
Yeah, because
at least that's what Hollywood movies usually do, right?
Right. Yeah, it wasn't enough resources for both of them, so it's just like that's where it seemed like it was going to be this cliche ending. It's like he sacrifices himself.
Yeah, at this point, I guess a typical Hollywood. This would be the very beginning of a normal Hollywood ending, right?
Right. Yeah.
He dies. And then we flash very forward to her saving the world, right?
It's true.
Right?
Yeah, definitely.
But this movie doesn't do that at all.
No. Let's keep this guy around.
I know, right? This almost has its own story here of what happens. He goes into Gargantuan, which is another great scene, right?
Yeah. Visually amazing.
All kinds of just effects going on. There's it was like dust, like stardust he was going through at one point.
Right, yep.
And then his ship is failing. He's got to eject. So he just ejects. Like, I love that. The ship says eject. I'm like, well, I'm in the middle of a black hole. I guess it says eject. I'm going to eject. I guess
that's what it says to do.
I won't be any safer in this busting up ship, I guess.
Right, yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. Like, where else am I going to go?
I just chuckled to myself.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. So, yeah, I mean, he's in this black hole now.
Right.
Just floating there. And then it's like kind of like this... these images start to appear a little bit. It's unfathomable right here.
He goes into this I don't even know how to describe.
I think they call
are.
it a tesseract.
It's a tesseract, yeah. Which is like this series of, it's like lights and beams and up and down, almost in like a plaid pattern, I guess, sort of in a way. But when you get closer, it's actually like
books.
Yeah, it's like it's basically like a portal in a sense.
Yeah.
To Earth and Murph. And every aspect of Murph as he moves around, and like, what's going on here? Mm-hmm. He's banging on things because he can see her. She can't talk to him. He's in, and we find out he actually does communicate with TARS, right?
Right. Yep.
He's gone into some other dimension.
Yeah, some other dimension.
That's been created by they, and who's they?
We still don't know.
Still don't know
who these people are. But yeah, it's like
he sees himself. Yep. He sees Murph. He sees everything that happened.
In Murph's bedroom.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. Because this is like basically behind her bookcase.
And back on Earth, the real present day Murph ends up getting back into the house because she goes and visits and tries to take the kids and her brother Tom away. Right, but Tom refuses because I'm a farmer. I'm not leaving my home, even though one kid died of lung disease, I'm assuming, or something.
Right.
The other kid's got it. The wife's got it. He probably has it. They're all dying.
Right, yeah.
And he just won't leave.
Right, so yeah, you're doing the back and forth between that and Jessica Chastain. But yeah, I mean, you basically discover that, at first Matthew McConaughey's, he did that stay thing. He was the one that knocked in the books to spell stay.
Yeah.
And that's another great emotional moment there. Great acting by McConaughey, just trying to tell himself to stay. Yeah. In essence, like stay, like don't go, like spend these days with your daughter, like because he thinks it's all over.
This is a great point because Cooper never really wants to leave. Mm-hmm. And even all the way through, we're near the end of the movie here, and he still thinks he shouldn't have left.
Right, yeah. Because I mean, this whole mission was for naught at this point in his mind.
He's mad at himself. He's like yelling at him, obviously because he sent it, right? So, but he still hasn't, he's like become that, okay, we're not quite revealing yet, but he's all the way through this point thinking everything I did was a mistake. I should have been with my daughter. And then they figures out that now I can send the data that we were hearing from.
Yeah.
And now this is my purpose. So I wasn't, emotionally in my heart I should have stayed because I would have been with my family. But in reality, he needed to go. Yeah. So that he can be in this thing and then transmit the data to Murph.
Because
the equation.
And he's even asking TARS for the data, and TARS is like, "Oh, a girl would never, like a little girl would never be able to understand this." I like how McConaughey is like, this isn't an ordinary girl,
right?
And then basically he puts the data in Morse code in the watch, the big watch hand of the watch.
So cool,
very cool.
So I guess there could be a critique here that all this stuff is just impossible, but. In the logic of the movie, this isn't impossible. Yeah, because they're exceeding really what is possible.
They're already blowing your mind. Where it's just like the things that physicists have proven that is true, that gravity can actually affect time. Like that's mind blowing in itself. So it's like this thing here. It's like. Well, I guess it can happen.
I'm sure someone can show some proof if given enough information. Well, we're told they're in like another dimension. So to me, this works the same way the wormhole idea works. It's not that much different.
Right. Yeah. If you're able to bend space, time, and space,
if I can be alive and this, why can't I send it down in another way? Right.
Right.
Why is it any different? So, but I can see a critique here, but I don't buy it.
No.
To me, this is just another amazing thing. And one of the themes in this movie, I think, which we saw in the Back to the Choices one, was why are you making these choices? And Anne Hathaway, it was kind of revealed that the planet that they don't go to, she kind of has a thing for this guy.
Yep.
She's like, I'm following my heart. And what this movie is saying throughout is that your heart does matter here. Yeah. Not everything is numbers on a piece of paper. There's a missing element that we don't understand, and we need to somehow incorporate something like love into our decision making, and it is a quantifiable thing. I think that's like one of the biggest takeaways from this movie is that these things are quantifiable. The love you have for someone, it is a real thing. It's not an abstraction.
Even Matt Damon's character brings something up about science. That what you parents think of right moments before they're going to die is their kids, because they're trying to stay alive for their kids. They're thinking of their kids because that's their driving force for survival. Then. So I mean, you could definitely use science there.
Yeah, and there's another, and now just you saying that reminded me of another conversation between Cooper and Anne Hathaway, and she said something about. They were debating about caring for your loved ones when they've already died. And she's like, what's the social utility in that? Blah, blah, blah. And they're debating this idea. I think Cooper was on the side of they're gone, you got to let go of your attachment or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's when they were debating, that was in their argument. And
right.
She was right.
Yeah, she ended up being right. Yeah,
they should have went to that planet because that was the one that was true.
Right.
And but if she had followed her heart, it would have been the right decision.
Yes, I mean sometimes, sometimes when the math isn't working, things like that. Yeah, you got to go with your heart. I mean, obviously, nothing has worked to this point, so I think that's kind of what she was implying. When she was speaking about that was, nothing's worked to this point, so why not just go with our heart? Which
exactly. I mean, they went to Miller's, which failed, but that was not. That was just a crazy time thing where she had only arrived minutes before, and they had no idea what had happened. And then and after that, it was Dr. Mann, who was this prestigious man, this well-respected, this learned, the guy. He's sending good data, and also this, it's like sort of like this guy that she just likes him. She's biased. But what she was saying was that I trust him more. I know him. I believe him. I believe in him because I know him, And they chose Mann for the credentials.
Right, so, yeah.
It was on paper he was better, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's such this movie gets you thinking about obviously the science stuff, but then just obviously it still teaches you try to follow your heart and
the heart is just as important as the science.
People who you love, you're supposed to still look out for them and care about them, and
or the heart is part of the science and we just don't incorporate it properly.
And that's what Matt Damon's character is. He kind of lost. He's just looking out for his own neck. Yeah. He's looking out for his own survival. Yeah. He's even kind of looking down at McConaughey for worrying about having these attachments when that's actually what saved Earth.
It's kind of like mocking him in a way, wasn't he?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, that kind of caused his demise. So. Look at that, man. This is just...
No, it's deep.
So I kind of appreciate that Matt Damon stuff more, I guess.
It's true, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that whole sequence, I mean, eventually, he gets the Morse code to the watch that's on the shelf in the book, on the bookshelf. Jessica Chastain sees it and realizes she has the equation. She has the data they need for the equation to be able to get this rocket ship or whatever they need to be able to get people off of Earth into a new planet.
There's hope.
There is hope.
Yeah.
There is hope.
And then all that like little dimension he was in just goes away and all gets quiet. And you think he's gonna die.
Right, yeah. Then he wakes up.
In a hospital bed.
It's like, is this all a dream? Like, what's going on here?
This is Cooper's Promise, our pick 6.
Yep, final in our pick 6. Cooper's Promise.
He wakes up in the space station, and this thing is cool, right?
Yeah, very cool.
How cool is this?
Yeah, because he wakes up, he looks out the window in the hospital bed, and it's kids playing baseball, and you look up, and it's Inception kind of looking stuff.
It reminds me of Halo, but better. Yeah, because Halo's like a ring. This is more of like a pipe.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean? Yeah. Good call.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, keep going.
No, yeah, but he finds out that his daughter or Murph is alive still. Mm-hmm. She found out after everything she made this hard trip. She did like cryosleep at an old age just so she can get to Cooper Station, named after her.
Yeah, Matt McConaughey's like, "Oh, you named it after me." He's like, "No, it's actually your daughter."
And we find the house that the farmhouse is now like in like a museum sort of a situation.
Yeah, and that's
the callback to the very beginning of the film with the people doing the documentary stuff about the blight and all that. This thing is just like, oh, this is great. It's like the whole movie's coming all together.
Yep, exactly.
You get that like nostalgia of like the old Earth, and he sits down with the guy that I don't know, it was like some aide that was touring it with him, and then we find the old TARS, gets him fired up. He's sitting on his porch again, and the guy's like, "Was it really like this?" And he's like, "Less dirt."
Yeah.
Then he says something else, which is like, "This is looking back." He was basically saying like, I don't know. I don't need to know where we were. I want to know where we are and where we're going.
Right. Yeah.
Which is the big theme of the movie.
Yeah,
right?
he still wants to find out what else is, what else is out there. Like, where do we go from here?
Yeah.
He's not, looking like, because even the people who are able to get them to space are looking back like, oh, look at this old timey house here in this museum. Like, let's recreate the past and this baseball fields. And he still has that in him where he's just he's an explorer. He keeps he wants to.
This is like the best qualities of mankind here.
Yeah, exactly.
This is who we are. We are explorers. We're conquerors. We're frontier people. We go out and we explore and we freaking send a man to the moon, and we should be sending them more and trying to go to Mars and trying to exceed like our achievements. Like doing these things makes us better as people, as a species.
Not be content with with just what we have. Like, you can be content with what you have in a material sense, things like that. But like, just
reaching for the stars,
right?
Trying to achieve, even just for achievement's sake,
right? Yeah.
The guys that went to the moon, they did okay, but it's not like they won the lottery or something like that. You know what I mean? They were like, it wasn't like they won like a fortune or something. They gained like. It was more like respect for being that guy that went and did that thing, and then we're all better for it, and we need to just always be striving for it, and that's what the world lost. They're just looking down in the dirt.
And for me, I like that he is a father, so he's looking, he's doing, you can tell he's wanting to do this too for his kids. What else is out there for them? Because I'm not gonna, once I die, there's gonna be people behind me that need, places to go. So why not pave the way for them?
It's the greatest of humanity.
Definitely. So that whole sequence, he reunites with Murph.
Yeah, she's
in
basically
a bed
on her deathbed.
She's the old lady, Ellen Burstyn. Man, great,
powerful stuff here.
Powerful stuff indeed. I mean, she's so much older than him, and it's she's got wisdom in her, so she understands that he needs to go. Like she,
no father should watch the death of their child.
Right? Yeah. It's just it's so. It's emotionally like it tears you up a little, like it makes you torn just because you're like, oh man, wait, that's his daughter, but she's kind of treating him like a son in a way, like, no, you need to go. Like, she knows that he's the explorer, but
it's not really sad,
right? Yeah, it's not too
like,
yeah.
It's like peace almost in a sense, like
peace and hopeful.
Yeah, it's emotional, but it's okay. It's like. All is not forgiven. Well, yeah, there is some forgiveness here, a lot of forgiveness,
right?
But also, just I love you, just clean, honest, nothing bad here.
Right?
There's just good feelings, and they're very powerful feelings.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, great little sequence there, and then he decides, I'm out of here. I'm gonna go see what Hathaway's up to.
Yeah, she's out there in what looks like the desert in Arizona or something.
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah, but she's in the
new colony, that one that they should have went to.
Yep, should have went to begin with. Should have followed her heart.
He's gonna go join her, and they're gonna start a new life. And that's the movie ends with us being hopeful for our species that we could overcome and like keep reaching out.
Yep, with a little bit of love.
Yeah.
A little bit of love. Yes. I mean, it's great ending. Love all that. I appreciated this so much more now that I watch it again. I'm glad you convinced me to watch it again.
That makes me feel great.
Yeah.
Because this one was one that I pushed, and I felt so strong about this movie. And I get it. There's ones where I've been in the same boat where ones I'm like, it's not my thing. And then you see it again, you're like, oh man, I was definitely wrong about that.
Yeah. So I guess I'll say that I was definitely wrong about that, Dave. This is a great film. I really enjoyed it.
So you're erasing it from your overrated list?
Yeah, I would erase it from my overrated list. I mean, it's definitely, again, because even the first time I watched it, like, it got me researching stuff. It got me thinking. Like, it got me, doing those things. It's just, I was just convinced myself when I first watched it that first night. I was just like, I didn't like it. So I think I was a little stubborn about it.
Yeah. I think this is the kind of one. Yeah, any movie that gets into your head. Yeah, you gotta think about why.
Right.
And this one raises all the big questions, and then some questions where you don't know the answers to. I mean, there's deep science stuff here, which is if you brush up on it, it's not that bad. At least the basics. But really getting your head around these things is crazy.
Yeah, I still don't know how gravity affects time. It's
nuts because it doesn't relate to your everyday life.
Right,
it just
exactly.
doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like
it's just so hard to wrap your head around. But yeah, I think this is a great film. Christopher Nolan's an amazing writer, along with his brother Jonathan Nolan, who wrote this as well.
Yeah,
who is doing Westworld now. Jonathan Nolan.
Yeah.
He's both these brothers are doing great right now. So
I just love that. Like I said in the beginning too, the ambition of this film to make this just crazy. He was pushing the limits of making a movie, of what you could handle for a story, all this stuff. This is a challenging film.
Yeah, definitely emotionally and
I could see
logically.
I could see the knocks on it, but I'm just not there. I think for its faults, or it's like okay because I know where he was trying to get, and he was trying to get so high.
Yeah,
and he got pretty dang close.
Yeah. Now I'm actually leaning towards the fact that this movie's kind of underrated now. You know what I mean? Like this is.
Oh, I love this.
I could flip this on right now again and just watch it. You know,
it's a phenomenal movie.
Yeah.
No,
absolutely.
Maybe I just missed the hype on this. Was there a lot? Because I felt like when you said it, you felt like you were getting like that you had to like it, or was that just pressure you put on yourself? Or?
I think it was pressure I put on myself, but I think there was hype around it, mainly due to because I'm a big Oscars guy, so I thought this was going to be like Oscar movie, which it won visual effects Oscars. I thought it was going to win, like be nominated for like acting Oscars, things like that, which it should have been, in my opinion.
I can't even think what 14 was, but this should have been best director. I don't know what could have
won. This was. Birdman, Alejandro Inarritu. Okay, he won Best Director, which you got to give him credit. I mean, doing that whole movie where it looks like one shot.
That's good.
I mean,
that's good. That's fair.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
there's no fault in Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, I really hope Dunkirk. I really hope he wins this year, man. He's not going to, but.
No, you don't think so? Is that are you gonna put?
Not that.
Is that where you are right
he's
now?
My number one, but if I was a betting man,
where you think you'd put? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so. But yeah, great.
Del Toro, is that what you're thinking?
Guillermo del Toro. Yeah, him or. Yeah, probably him. I mean, that's yeah. He won the Golden Globe, which kind of usually coincides with the Oscars.
But if that's it, then Nolan really shouldn't lose.
Yeah, it has to be between them two. Did you finish Shape of Water, by the way?
Should I tell the audience that I fell asleep while watching it?
No.
Well, I just did.
Yeah.
I think it wasn't, and nothing against the movie. It was just a long day.
Understandable.
And I plopped down on the couch. The wife liked it. And apparently.
Oh, okay.
She enjoyed it, and I was just tired and fell asleep.
Understandable. But I mean, we've kind of, asked questions along the way, but is there any questions you haven't asked yet? Who's the idiot? Me or the movie is our next segment. Any questions?
I think we're both the idiot.
I mean, we're not gonna be able to answer any of these.
And I think that's okay. And I think that's, in a movie where we're talking about like some of the more abstract theories of humanity and what people are capable of, and to not ask questions is maybe a good. It's like nice discretion to maybe keep your mouth shut.
Right.
It's
true.
Because it's like to nitpick this, it just makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any place to even nitpick.
But you know what I'm trying to say? Like,
yeah.
Well, actually, the time dilation doesn't work.
Right. Yeah. I mean, well, I'm no science. Yeah.
We don't know about a fifth dimension.
I mean, that's just kind of implausible, isn't it? I mean, come on. But
that's kind of what I'm saying. I think you have to really suspend. Well, you have to try to get your mind around what they're doing, which is actually real stuff.
Right.
They had real science behind everything they did.
I like that they didn't 100% answer everything. Like I said, with when we talked about 3 billboards, they didn't, necessarily have an ending. It just, kind of ended.
Yeah.
Some stories don't
okay.
need that total resolution.
Yeah.
This kind of had a resolution, but at the same time didn't, because it, showed Anne Hathaway on the planet there. You kind of just have to kind of make up on your own.
But we know that.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that everyone's in the consensus that, it's hopeful. There's hope, and they're going to continue. They're going to move on. Humans will always find a way. But
it's a very inspirational story, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Who's they?
Humans.
So this is what got me looking into paradoxes. So
the they to me.
Didn't they need? Sorry.
No. Go ahead.
Didn't they need Cooper to get there originally to give her the equation?
Oh yeah, that doesn't solve itself.
Yeah, it's a paradox. Like, what came first, chicken or the egg?
Right.
What's
So that's a good question. I think the answer is we don't know. Yeah. It's a loop that can't be broken, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because you're gonna it's a paradox, like you said.
No, that's true. Yeah. And I think the they is
the they was definitely is humans.
I think the they is the Matthew McConaughey equivalent of Matthew McConaughey talking to Murph.
Yeah,
it's in the same way. That's kind of what I got from it. Well, I think they said that. No, didn't Matthew.
He did. I just didn't know if that was.
But I thought of it the same 100%.
way.
So I think future people.
Yeah.
Because of course, like, here's where it gets nuts, right? Because how does future people help back in time people solve? Because future people couldn't be alive unless past people.
Yeah.
It doesn't really make sense, but
very paradoxical. But
that's okay.
Yeah.
There's there are more inconsistencies in other kinds of movies. This is fine, right?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it's a paradox, but for making you think, hey, that's a paradox. Now your mind is churning in a way where I'm glad it's churning this this direction.
Right.
Now I'm thinking about how could he do that?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like where the grandfather goes back in time and has his son who eventually becomes or has himself. So it's like where does I forget the actual paradox. Like the grandfather goes back in time.
No, I think it's if a grandson goes back in time and kills his grandfather, does that kill me? Or kills your father?
Yeah. So it's like kind of similar to that. Like
if I kill them before I'm conceived.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
Exactly. So it gets you. So it's like, I got that back and forth. Like that's kind of what.
No, but that's true because if he's pushing the book, well, he's there, right? So he can't be doing both. He had to have gotten to that place,
right?
So how could he have gotten to that place? But you can't give yourself I don't know. Maybe if this rattles, then it's like Ben behind the plant.
Maybe
I don't know. See. Like
I know.
These are questions where like I don't know how to answer them, so I don't. You know what I mean?
I get.
Did you have anything else?
Not. I mean, yeah.
Any
we kind of
critiques besides the Dr. Mann thing.
The Dr. Mann thing again. The whole docking thing just took way too long.
The spinning was cool though, right?
Yeah. Again, the visuals. I have no problem with any of the visuals. Yeah. I mean, it looked amazing the whole way through. I guess the another nitpick I had was just the beginning where how quickly it moved. Where it's just like Michael Caine was like, "Oh well, we need you to pilot it." So it's like all of a sudden it's just like, okay, like what would you have done if I didn't come here? But I guess that's kind of. Matthew McConaughey is the one that did it in the first place, so he sent himself there because he's the one that gave him the coordinates in the first place.
Right, but we also got a movie that we need to move along. Yeah. So
no, I agree. Again, because I was like, as we said earlier, I was happy that they didn't show prep. Like they just took off. Like they did the countdown right away. They didn't show him, getting prepared.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's just great that we just go one to the other and we're out. I love that.
Yeah, it's just like last night when I watched it. It's just one of the things. I was just like, wow, this is going super fast all of a sudden.
Well, we got a long way to go here.
So you have no more questions, or?
I don't think so. I think it's just it's a deep movie. It's a very philosophical. Yeah, it's just there's a lot here to unpack.
Definitely,
I love it. I know. I think it's my.
It's really good. It's really good.
I want to say I think it's not Christopher Nolan's best, but I think it's my favorite.
Really,
just for what it does to me inside. This one taps deep into me.
You like it better than Dunkirk?
I like it better emotionally. Yeah,
I guess so. Yeah,
Dunkirk is a better piece of film. It's put together better, but this one I like Interstellar better. I like the way where it goes, and the problem I guess in it is because it's so long and because it's so heavy and because it's so deep. It's almost one of those things where you maybe want to avoid.
Right. Yeah.
That's something you want to just throw on randomly.
That's true.
So I might not watch this movie for another 2-3 years,
I could see that.
And then I'll watch it again, and I'll be right back where I am now, and just be like,
I know,
shocked.
Yeah. I love movies that make you think like that.
Yeah.
Final thoughts and rating is our next segment. We pretty much gave our final thoughts. How would you rate this movie?
I give it 4 stars and 3 buckets of popcorn.
Nice. Yeah, Look at you.
4 solid stars. I don't. this could have been a perfect movie, and if this thing became a perfect movie, that would have been amazing. But it's not. It isn't. There's some digressions here. There's some clunkiness, and it really is a bit too long.
What part's drug for you?
Oh, the man stuff. Definitely
okay.
drug.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of the stuff. Some stuff in the beginning I thought dragged just a little bit. And when they first get to NASA explaining it doesn't really tell you what's going on. And then the end. I guess. Yeah, the last half of the movie really drags little moments, like maybe double their length. Like
right, yeah.
Almost like what you were saying with the docking, where they're like spinning. It's like, okay, this is like a 10-minute sequence. Here.
Right, yes.
Get this thing going. And then I felt like that kind of happened I can't name a specific one off the top of my head, but I felt like things that could have been 5 seconds, they made it to 10.
Right.
It's just like a look here. And then they like stayed on it just a little bit too long. So you get 2 hours and 45 minutes. That's a commitment.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I think I said this to you. Nolan followed up by making his next movie 1 hour shorter.
Yeah.
Than that one, and so he tried to do something more concise, which he did, which is amazing.
So Dunkirk was the next one.
Yeah.
He hasn't done a movie since.
It was Interstellar, and then right. There's nothing in between. Is there?
3 years apart. Wow. So
he does The Dark Knight, which everybody loved. Does this amazingly ambitious movie.
Yeah. And
then hits it back with Dunkirk 3 years later.
He's incredible. He's one of the best filmmakers out there, if not the best current filmmaker out there.
Think about what he just did. He did an Interstellar versus Dunkirk. Those movies, I mean, on the surface, couldn't be any more different, right?
Yeah.
And you watch them and you both know they're Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look at all of his movies. I mean, you got obviously the Batman series, but then you have Prestige, Memento.
Yeah. All
have different elements and different feels to them. It's just incredible. Yeah. I give this movie a 3.5 stars and 3 buckets of popcorn.
Okay, so you're a half star off of me, critically, star-wise.
Yep.
That's fine. I'll accept it. This is you've made a lot of progress since calling you overrated.
I'm sorry. I gave it 3.5 stars and 2.5 buckets of popcorn.
Okay,
so a half star on both.
Wow. Well,
sorry.
I'll have to
Anyways,
go back.
but yeah, I mean,
the stars, I think, for length,
so much better the second time around, and I'm glad I gave it another chance, and I can say this is a movie I probably will end up really loving down the road.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I'm glad we revisited this, my friend, and that's all I got.
The only thing looking forward, you mentioned the Prestige. I really do want to explore this concept of doing movies that come out within the same year or one year separated who deal with the same subject.
Yeah.
So the Prestige versus The Illusionist.
Yeah.
I'd like to do a comparison to that. I'd like to. We've already done Dunkirk, but an obvious one would be Dunkirk versus Darkest Hour. It's like, okay,
That's
so in
true.
the same year, you're talking about the same thing. And there are these movies, if you look, there's I think I found 10 of them just glancing through. So maybe we look at the best ones and compare, because I think I don't know why that happens.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, you got Deep Impact and Armageddon.
Yeah, exactly.
Volcano, Dante's Peak.
There you go. You're already going off.
Look at that, man. Crazy. All right, folks. Well, that is it for us. Great movie Interstellar is 2014. Christopher Nolan. You can follow us on Twitter at Blockbustercast. My personal account is at BCcord.
I'm at Barford and at Dave_Quist.
And be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. Like us at YouTube.
Nice to see you.
Very nice to see you. All right. Well, any final thoughts, my friend?
Goodbye.
All right, folks. That is it for us. For Davo, I'm Ben Secord. And as always, grab some popcorn. Grab some snacks. We'll catch you guys.
At the movies.
At the movies.